You are listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Tyler, and I am joined by my two friends, Amanda and Stephanie. We are a trio of coaches on a mission to ignite a collective movement where authenticity, self-discovery, and purposeful living take center stage. Each episode, we go live in the Kaya way. Kaya is an open invitation to show up authentically and vulnerably. It's a safe space to allow ourselves to be worthy and enough right now. And it's a celebration of our individuality and diversity. So welcome to the show. We're happy that you're here, and we invite you to join us in today's conversation.
Hello.
Welcome. Happy Monday, everyone.
The best day.
Because it's podcast day.
It is. Monday is so exciting. I'm gonna make a very unpopular statement, but I love Mondays. I really love Mondays.
As I said that, I'm like, wait a minute. There's so much, I think, in like the societal norm, I guess. I don't know if you want to call it that, but that's like what comes to mind first is like, yeah, Mondays, like nobody likes Mondays. Everybody dreads Mondays. And that's a very generalizing statement. But I think that, yeah, we hear that everywhere, don't we?
Totally. I think it's so common for people to be like, oh, we dread Mondays. And I think it's so sad. Can we talk about how sad it is? Because I'm going to go back like almost a decade now, which is wild to think about. Wild to think that this has almost been 10 years ago. But like, I remember working in Chicago in the heart of like corporate America, like having to commute on the subway into downtown. I worked at Willis Tower, or formerly known as Sears Tower. It's like the biggest building in Chicago. It's very iconic. I mean, it was like exactly what corporate America was. You took the elevator up to the 45th floor. You had a great view, like all, we had like a game area, like it was corporate America to the T. But that culture in corporate America was everybody was like dreading Mondays, counting down until Fridays. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's so sad that we live in a world where we don't appreciate every single day, because I really do believe that every day is a new day. It's a new beginning. There's always opportunity for growth and for making different choices. And like, if we're just like think about it. If we're literally just trying to get through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're basically wasting away more than half of our week, counting down towards Friday afternoon so that we can go out Friday night and get like drunk and forget about how miserable like our lives are. And then, guys, I'm sorry, I'm really going here. I'm wired this morning, y'all. So fair warning, I'm very wired this morning. I'm very energized. But I just think that is so sad. I think it is that was the saddest part of working inside of corporate America, was the countdown to Friday. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had a friend who was very much, and I was always very like, nope, I'm not going to fall into the corporate America trap. And I'm so glad I didn't. But I had a friend who very much fell into the corporate America track. And we had a conversation. And I remember her saying, Tyler, this is just how life is. You get a job, you count down until Friday, you take your PTO and you go on vacation and you just rinse and repeat this. And my heart broke. We were having sushi one night and I was going on a very similar rant as I am right now. And she shared that story with me, or she shared those beliefs with me. And she said, this is just how it is. This is how life is you get the job, you bear with it, you count down until Friday, and then you go out and you have fun and you forget about the week and you do it all over again. And I remember just my heart absolutely breaking when she was telling me this story. And I think there are so many people who just get stuck with this mindset or this belief that this is how it is. And I want to challenge people to kind of break the stigma and break that mindset. And make Mondays fun again. Make Mondays enjoyable. Like, it's the start of a new week. So you can choose something totally different this week, y'all. If you're not happy, if you dread Mondays, well, maybe it's time to make a different choice and like take back control of your own life. And that's it. I'm stepping off the soapbox.
You know, when you started with this earlier, and like Amanda and I, we were laughing. I don't even think we were laughing at your rant, but you were like going, "Oh yeah, if we're just trying to go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday," and then you paused and you kind of looked down, and I'm like, "Wait, does he not remember what comes after Wednesday?"
No, I was counting and then going, "Holy crap, that's more than half of our week that we are counting down towards Friday." We're basically like wishing away more than half of our week, just trying to get to a weekend, just so that we have like 2.5 days worth of joy. How sad is that, y'all?
Yeah. No,
I
like
love
you
Mondays. I love
made
them.
the point perfectly clear. Like we definitely got it, and there's definitely a lot of, you know, Tyler, I don't know, whatever
Energy.
vibes around you today. We can see you glow. Absolutely. I don't know. I just had this moment of like, wait, does he not know what comes afterwards? And I would love that kind of lifestyle. I would love the kind of lifestyle where I don't even know what weekday it is, and it absolutely doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I would love
Yeah.
that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I'm getting there. I will say that. Like, sometimes like people are always shocked when I will work on a Saturday or something like that, and they're like, "Why are you working on a Saturday? It's a weekend." And I'm like, because I don't care. Like the Saturday is not like the holy grail for me. Like, it's not like, you know, I could take a random Tuesday off if I want and go do something, or, you know, like I don't know. I'm just very happy that I'm feeling very grateful that I'm co-creating a life that like actually vibes with me versus, you know, just being stuck in some sort of like corporate America like chokehold. Ugh. 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 Anyway, how are you two doing today? This is wow.
I came into this conversation, I'm like, oh, this is so light and fun, and now it's like we're in a chokehold.
It's never light and fun here. Actually, no, I think this is fun, but
oh no, it's definitely fun, but a different energy. I think when you think about this, like, I think the three of us stand for so much, like, you know, choice and having alignment in our lives and all of those things, right? And so when I think about this, like being in a chokehold, and like, it's a really great way to describe, but it sounds awful. Like, that doesn't sound like fun. Like, if I was in a chokehold, I'd definitely be counting down, and then I get visuals of like, you know, like WWE, and I'm like, you know, you're in a chokehold, and then the ref is like 1, 2, like. I don't know. Interesting that we are. Like, this isn't like what you were sharing about your friend. Like, it's not an uncommon belief system to have, right? And I think that's the part that for me where I'm saying like it feels kind of heavy, because I can't imagine that for myself, but I know that this does exist for, I would say it would be fair to say that this is probably, I'm a minority, or, you know, maybe, you know, I don't know to speak for the three of us, but like, I feel like we're, you know, in alignment in this, like, you know, creating choice and having, co-creating a life that we love, and that we aren't counting down till the weekend.
It's kind of like this, we are in it. Like, when you shared this, Tyler, I saw myself there too. Like, I once was in jobs that I didn't really like, or I expected so different things from it, or how I would feel in this job. And then my expectations weren't met. And then I was very miserable, but also it was very draining in terms of energy. And so it's hard to get out of that chokehold, if you want to use that example. So it takes a while. It's not just, and I think, Tyler, you were very inspiring when you said, like, you know, you can make a different choice tomorrow. But I'm sure you also know from own experience that it's hard. Like it's really hard to get to this place where you have the strength and the belief in yourself. I think that's where this whole thing starts, that you kind of say for yourself, okay, I will do my thing. I will decide what works for me and then build that life. Like that is really a lot of work. And I would say for me, it took a while. Like it took years to get to that place, to have the vision. I always had the visions, but then also to have the kind of like my own back to do it, to take the action. Like that, I think takes a lot of strength and courage. And it is, yes, it is swimming against the stream. And when everyone is around you and tell you like, oh no, let's go party on the weekend and have fun and just like, feel miserable during the week and gossip about our coworkers and all of that very common lifestyle, then it's difficult to make that choice. I found it difficult to make that choice over and over every day to say, no, I'm actually going to get up earlier and I'm going to sit an hour before I start work. Like that's what I did, for example. Before I started work, I would go to this cafe, sit there for an hour and study for the coaching certificates that I have now, right? So it's not like it's just, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and then everything will be different in like a day. It takes time and effort. So and what I thought of when you shared this, Tyler, I kept asking myself, where does that come from? I think that starts very early, that we give the idea to people that life somehow needs to be hard, and that somehow that's just part of life, that we can't have an exciting, amazing life where we don't care if it's Tuesday or Saturday and we just enjoy the work we do. I think that starts very, very sadly, very early, that we give that idea to people of like, yeah, that's just life.
Oof. Hold on, y'all. Buckle up, because like we're about to go there. I'm already feeling that this morning. Both Amanda and I's faces just went woof. Amanda, I feel like I'm gonna let you go because
I feel like that's a perfect pathway for Amanda to go on a little rant.
Go.
Yes.
You're on.
Well, the way I see it, in my humble opinion, I think a lot of this really starts from really how we are raised, how things are set up in even just the education system. And I think it's so unfortunate, because I think learning and education are important and they're incredibly valuable. Like, I can't imagine myself not learning and being in, I'm always in some kind of a program. And so like learning new things is something that I think is really important. But when we look at like the school system, and when we see our kids and they're like waking up every morning, I don't want to go to school, I hate school. And then we hear, well, you have to go to school, you have to do this, and you have to do that. And again, not that education isn't important, but the fact is, this is the language that we're constantly hearing. And so, of course, it would make sense that then when we're in a job and we're like, oh, I hate this, but like, it's okay, I have to, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And oh, I'm cringing. I can't be on that train. I can't get on that wagon. That is not, we've chosen a different educational path, and that's, I think, part of the reason why I really have chosen to homeschool, because I think that it's important to love learning and to love your life and to wake up and enjoy what you do and have fun, not feel like this is a chore or I have to, or things like that, because that's not what life has to be. But it's what we're so used to that I think that it's become I want to say like normal, but I'm like, I hate that word because I'm like, what does normal even mean? But status quo, like it's become a
Mm.
universal thought or belief that this is just how it is. And I think, Tyler, like you illustrated this perfectly when describing with your friend, even as you were sharing the story, I'm like, this reminds me like of going to school. Like you wake up and you hate it, but you have to do it. And so you just keep doing it on repeat. And then we're already used to that. And so we just keep doing it even into our adult lives, right? And oh, this bothers me. And again, it's not the getting an education part of it. It's the, waking up like I work with teenagers, and it's very rare that I meet a teen who's like, I love school. I'm so excited to wake up in the morning and go to school. I just can't wait. Like, that's like very a rare handful of kids, right? And so if that's what we're doing on a daily basis from such a young age, then this is how we're programming our brains essentially to be okay with this, And so, oh, yes, I would definitely love to change that narrative, to change that, way of thinking and the way of just I can't, you guys. I can't. Somebody has to jump in. I'm gonna like explode.
We're we're jazzed this morning. That's my word. But like, as I was listening to Amanda just share, and we're all I think I love this conversation because it's all in some way tapping into all of kind of like our passions and the things that we just feel so strongly about. Like, I think that's why we're feeling this power this morning. But like, as Amanda was sharing, I just had to throw in here, it does start at a young age. It starts, I think, in school, and with this like, oh, I hate school. It's hard. It doesn't work for me. And like, and what's so fascinating about this is, this continues on through life, like, school, into college, into work, and into, all of these kind of things. And I find this so fascinating because, I'm going to throw in the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity, we've all heard this, is like doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome or a different kind of result. And I feel like we kind of live in this insanity loophole where like what if life was an insanity loophole where, we just like get into school and we struggle and it's hard and it's difficult, and then we carry that into college or into the workforce, and we're just kind of like, and we think, okay, we're going to go make a change, we're going to go do something different, but we don't ever stop to ask ourselves, like, what is something different that we actually want to do? And I'm sitting here listening to all of us talk, and I'm going to go here because anybody who actually listens to our show would probably immediately think, oh my God, these three are like crazy idealists and they are so out of touch with reality and they don't understand the real world. And I'm going to challenge that and actually say, no, it's you that you don't understand the real world, because we've been so conditioned and it's so kind of almost brainwashed and manipulated into thinking this is just how it has to be. Life has to be hard. I remember growing up and watching my grandpa like bitch and complain and moan and groan about how hard life is and how difficult the job was. And, and I heard my dad do the same thing, and my mom, and just all of the generations before me. That's their mindset. That's their beliefs. That's their, conditioning. And, what's crazy is that when we're born, we are immediately kind of immersed into these beliefs that aren't even ours. This was a big wake up for me when I was going through coaching and I was getting like the coaching certification and everything like that, and starting down this like personal development rabbit hole. Is we are brainwashed, we are conditioned, we like the beliefs that we think are ours aren't actually our beliefs. It's just the beliefs that we have kind of accumulated through our interactions with older people, with the people who have come before us, you know? And I look at that and I think that way a lot because I sit down and I write down the beliefs, like what do I believe about work? What do I believe about love? What do I believe about whatever, God? It could be about anything. Like whatever you believe about anything, you can actually sit down and write it out and then ask yourself, is this something that you actually believe, or is this something that you were conditioned to believe or that you were influenced to believe by other people? Because chances are you are conditioned from the people around you. And like, we don't know this. Like when we're born, we're little babies. It's not like we have this awareness or this knowledge to be like, oh no, mom, I don't want to believe that because, I'm trying to live my own life. No, we're kids, give ourselves credit, give ourselves, grace and forgiveness and say, hey, what we learned as kids, what we were influenced as when we were younger, don't let those be the chains that hold you back in adulthood. What I love so much about becoming an adult and what I love so much about my going through my 20s was tapping in to my own identity. Who is Tyler? Like, that's such a powerful question. Who are you? It's one of the big questions that I think we all struggle with. And the more I let go of all of this stuff that is no longer serving me, like beliefs from my parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and family members who have influenced me over the years, the more freedom I find and the more the less restricted I feel, And so coming back to my friend from almost 10 years ago when we had that conversation, I have so much compassion for her now. Back then I was like, you're crazy. Like, girl, like, no, we butted heads and I was like, this is not, no, no. But now looking back, I have so much compassion for her because I understand that, again, she's conditioned to believe that this is just how life is, that you get the job, you work the 9 to 5. And if you look at her parents, that's exactly what they did. And they were super successful. They had very high level, corporate careers and super successful and made lots of money. But were they happy? I don't know. Probably not. I'm making an assumption here. But, they had the money and, they had what looked to be like a really glamorous life. But at the end of the day, maybe they were secretly miserable, and maybe they had just worked their life away. And, I recognized I didn't want that, and I think this is it's just so important to stop and realize how much power you have as an individual, and how much control you actually have over your life. And I think when we get out of the space of being the victim and thinking, oh, life is working against me or whatever this is, and actually take responsibility and take accountability for your life and choose something different, y'all, you're reclaiming your power. And you're going to be able to get up Monday morning and go, oh my God, I love Monday mornings because I have now created a life that allows me to love Monday mornings, for example. And so powerful, so powerful. And this is what gets me excited. And this is what gets me pumped and just ready to go change lives, because y'all, you have the power. And once you recognize that, and once you're able to tap into that, and it's an internal thing, it has nothing to do with the external materialistic things. It's all internal power. Once you're able to tap into that, you really can go create a life that you absolutely love, that you look forward to every single day. And it doesn't matter if it's Monday or Saturday, because each day is just a gift, and it's a joy to wake up to. And that's what I'm feeling this morning. I'm really feeling the joy and the gratitude of like, hey, it's another day of me being able to get up and go live the life that I am intentionally designing and choosing to live. And I feel a lot of gratitude towards that.
You know, as you were sharing this, it got me thinking about the conditions that our parents or our grandparents grew up with, and that all of this really is a journey as humanity as a whole, for all of us together. Because back in the days, from when our grandparents were young and did their thing, times were very different, and the resources were so different. So they didn't have access. They couldn't go on the internet and look up, Tony Robbins' inspirational speech, and then bow, bam, life changed, right? They didn't have that. It just started. I think self-development in the 80s or so, like there was a big boom, and all of a sudden there were these mentors, and there was, I don't know, weird infomercials and I don't know, right? And they started with like seminars, and then it kind of grew. And as the internet emerged, now we are so connected and we are able to consume all that content. And I think that is a huge part of why the three of us are also sitting here today. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of technology, just in general from the perspective of globalization, and how we are now so easily able to access that kind of stuff. Because in the 80s, it was rare to come across like a self-development book, right? That was just not the focus, especially here in Europe. Like when my grandparents were my age, or when they got married and had kids and started their business. I mean, they were like, my grandparents are like self-made, strong, worker class superheroes, honestly. Like they did it, right? Like post-war, they were like the superheroes in society, because they rebuilt houses and did everything. But self-development was just not on their agenda, because you can't buy food with that, right? You can't buy food with that. And so now I think they have really laid the groundwork for us to thrive. Like now we are able to do all of this because they came before us. And I think that's a point I want to make here. As a society, we are ever evolving. And I think self-development is just one of those things that is exploding right now because of all the work from our ancestors. And it's just it was a different time. I know it's such a weird sentence to say now, but it was a different time, really. And very different resources. And so when you just said that, Tyler, I'm so grateful for this conversation here this morning. It got me thinking of, I'm so grateful that we have access to all of that stuff, that we are able to put all the pieces together, right? Because of all the people that came before us and helped us to get to this place here. So I feel that energy right now of like, wow, what has humanity already accomplished, together, to get us to this place here today, where we can actually say those things like, it's in your hands. There has never been in humanity more choices for an individual in an industrialized country to choose from, right? There's so many choices that we can make every single day, and it's ever growing. And I think that's so beautiful that we're sitting here and saying, like, choose the thing that makes you happy. Like, why do you keep choosing the thing that makes you miserable? Like, that doesn't make sense for us, right? It's like, because we do that. And so I think that's really beautiful. Yeah, that we can do that.
Well, and I think what I love, Stephanie, that you took a moment to reflect back on the previous generations that have come before us, because you're absolutely right. They have paved the way for us to now be able to sit here and like have these idealistic thoughts, to have these like big ideas that don't actually seem that crazy anymore, because as you know, we are all in 3 different countries, but we're all in 3 countries that are established. You know what I mean? We're not in like some third world country where we're still fighting, for food, or, there's a scarcity for that. And I think, when you come from an established country like we are, then it's recognizing the privilege that we have to know that like our basic needs are met, And so it just got me thinking about like the Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, like our physiological needs for like food and water and shelter and, like safety, like all of the basic needs they're met right now, for all of us. And anyone who's in this place of privilege to be able to, know that they have a warm bed to sleep in and, a house to come home to and food on the table, it's there's no wonder why like we're seeing this like rise of like wanting more or looking for more or longing for more, because our basic needs are met every single day, and so this then gets us into those psychological needs of friendships and relationships and the esteem needs of like prestige and feeling accomplished and things like that. And I think what I love right now is that we are in this world right now where so many people are looking at the very top of the pyramid, which is that self-actualization of achieving one's full potential, and really like asking ourselves, what is that full potential? Once we have our basic needs met, where do we grow from there? Where do we go from there? Like, what comes next? And this like longing for more, and this longing for, and to me, when I think of like what is that more, to me, I come back to spirituality, and I come back to like being able to tap into that which is greater. And again, I'm not speaking from a religious place. I'm not speaking in terms of like organized religion. I'm just talking here for a second from like that higher energy, recognizing. And I think what I've been going through a lot recently here is I've been reading a lot more spirituality books, like around the concept of God, but detached from like the religious lens, and more just universal, like what is that God energy and what is that like universal energy that we can all tap into. And y'all, it's very exciting and it's very powerful, and it's very like to me, that's that like self-actualization space where we recognize that, hey, we are a part of something so much bigger than just us. We are a part of like a universe of collective souls and spirits and like one big energy. And it's really powerful and really kind of like mind breaking to kind of like think about that, and to recognize that collectively we all kind of come from this one energy source. And I don't know, I just have I have a deep appreciation right now and fascination with like the metaphysics of all of this, and like tapping into like that which is greater. Because again, I look at my life right now, and it's funny, we're 30 minutes into our episode. Before we started the show, I thought we were going to talk about like fashion and trending, like we had talked about like, oh, maybe we'll go in this direction of talking about trends and like, keeping up with the Joneses and everything like that. But, I think what's so fascinating is, as a developed country that we all 3 of us live in, we have everything that we need. All the basic needs are met, and we're very safe and secure. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I think, I look and I think a lot about materialism right now, and why, like, as a world, why are we so materialistic right now? Why do we want the latest, greatest products and items and things like that? And it's because we're so grateful that we have all of our basic needs met, that it's like, oh, well, what else do I do with my life? It's like, oh, I might as well go buy this new shirt or buy the new shoes that just came out, or, whatever. And y'all, that's not, I'm telling you, that's not going to give you that inner fulfillment, that inner like that it's not going to it's not going to fulfill that inner hunger for more, you know. And this is why I think, you know, and I'm fascinated by looking at the hierarchy, the pyramid here. You know, we have this like in between belongingness and love, we have the esteem, and then we have self-actualization. And I think so many of us are stuck in that esteem space where we are stuck in this place of materialism and thinking, oh, if I buy the new car, or if I get the new shoes, or if I buy the designer dress, then I'm going to feel fulfilled. And I'm like, no, it's even, we got to push through that, y'all. We got to push through that into that inner energy, into that like self-actualization space of like, hey, recognizing that like I am powerful and I have control and autonomy over myself and over my life, and like I get to make the choices, and I don't have to be chained to this system that tells us that, oh, if you want to be happy, you need to buy this, or you need to be consuming this, or whatever. And like actually take a step back and go, what is it that you actually want, that you actually desire, that you really, that would really bring you joy, you know? And this is why I think it all comes down to, and I'm excited, I'm going to share this because this is the first time that I'm sharing it publicly, but every year I do a year, like a theme for the year. And my theme for 2025 is going to be the year of intention, because I really want to focus in on my intention. What is it that I want? What is it that I am working towards? What is it that I want to go co-create with the universe? So really bringing intention and focus into 2025, because I recognize now that I have the power to go do this. And so I'm very excited for that, because it's so much bigger than just stuff, than just material things. I'm buzzing, y'all. Like my brain is like, wow.
I'm feeling that. I'm sensing that energy. I'm like, we've like touched on so many. I mean, not that I'm surprised in any way, but like we've touched on so many things. And like, okay, like how I don't even like, yeah, I don't even know what to say next. I'm like, because there's just so many like nuggets that, you know, we can take from everything that we've shared so far, you know. And for me, I think what I'm thinking is about really getting to know ourselves on a deeper level. Doing that internal, like those reflections, and how truly valuable this can be. And we don't do that, I think, as a whole, like often enough. And yes, definitely we can see this, like, you know, the personal development space growing and people going more towards this. But I think that there's still more to be done. I think that there's still, I mean, obviously the three of us are here for a reason. So there's still more. And that for me is, it's really inspiring. It's super motivating, and is also a reminder that what happens when we don't do that internal reflection, like what happens when we just, you know, follow the Tyler's assembly line
Life's
analogy.
conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt.
Yay.
Yes, like that's coming to mind, right? Where we just, first you do this, and then you do that, and then you do this, and then you do that. And it doesn't always have to be that way. And so I think that reminder that we can get off the conveyor belt and that we can think outside of the box. And not that these aren't things that we haven't heard before. So I just wonder then, like, I don't know, just getting curious on like what then keeps people on this conveyor belt. And so for me, I guess that's why I'm saying that internal reflection is so important, because I think some people, and again, I'm not one of those people, so I'm just like making an assumption here, but my guess would be they don't even realize that they're even on the conveyor belt.
Mhm.
Like, they don't even know the conveyor belt exists, actually. Like, they don't even know, what that even means or what it is. Because I can't imagine that someone who is aware of the conveyor belt and this, like, well, this is what the shoulds and the have tos and all of those things, that they would stay there. But then this reminds me of our conversation from last week of like the comfort zone and like, making those connections of like, well, maybe someone does realize, but it's hard. And being realistic with the fact that too, right? There's like those small steps that we need to take to step off the conveyor belt. Like some of us, maybe we just take like big leap of faith and we jump off and we're like, okay, I don't know what's down there, but I'm just going to jump and hopefully everything's okay. And then there's those who are a little bit more cautious and like, well, I don't know what's going to happen if I jump off this conveyor belt. Like, what's down there? It's scary and it's the unknown, right? I don't know. I have no idea where I'm even like going with this. There's just like so many thoughts from our conversation today that I'm like, like I don't even know where to start or stop or go. I don't know. Somebody say something. Get us make this all make sense.
I think maybe I can give an example to illustrate this a bit better. Because I really like this idea of, if I want to, first of all, I need to be aware that I'm on the conveyor belt. That's the first step, awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question is, how do I get off it if I want to get off it? I think that's a choice we have to make. It's a very hard choice. Because again, I said this earlier, you're starting to go against the stream because everyone is on the conveyor belt. I think that's hard, like this part where we do something then that everyone else in our circle is not doing. I think that's really difficult. So I was just reminded when you shared this of my own journey with my body, with like just body image issues that I had back in the days, and that my conveyor belt was, I have to be thin and then I can do all the things. So my dreams were conditioned and I could only ever have the things I wanted, like, a fulfilling relationship and the career I really wanted to do and great colleagues and all that stuff. I could only have that in this specific kind of body. And now when I say this, I'm like, that does not make any sense. Like, why can I not have colleagues, like great colleagues, or a job that is fulfilling when I'm in a bigger body? Like, makes no sense, right? But yet that was what I believed. I believed that for me, in order to be a worthy part of society, I had to look a certain way. And a lot of women just identify like that. And then I shifted that, thankfully. I realized, and I got help for that. I realized people showed me like, hey, you can believe something else. You could choose. So that, I think, was for me, at least with that topic, someone telling me, oh, there's other options. Like if you want to get on off the conveyor belt, then here's a rope, here's a path, here's a whatever, but you can actually get off it. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. I think I was one of the people that were like, it's kind of like when you dip your toe into the ocean first, and then you're like, yes, and then you jump in. Right? At first, I was like, taking my foot off the conveyor belt and dipping it into, I don't know, whatever else. And then I was like, yes, let's go. There is actually something there, right? I'm not going to fall if I jump. And that's what I did. And then I just shifted my beliefs, and I believed something else, and I've been believing something else ever since. And that's what kept me off the conveyor belt, thankfully. So yeah, I think it's definitely like a process, and it's a lot of steps that we have to take. And maybe everyone needs their own strategy of, once you're aware of the conveyor belt, everyone needs their own strategy of, okay, how do I do this now? Like, and I always recommend get some help, get someone who has done it before you, because they know what's maybe scary about it. And they can give you the one of the pictures I had when you described this conveyor belt thing, I was like, oh, what if someone came with a helicopter and let down the ladder? Those like teams, the sea rescue teams who like have the ladders, and then someone gets down there and grabs the person out of the ocean or whatever. So I had one of those images that someone offers you a ladder, or someone just like, hey, let me just pave you a path here. Or, hey, you know what? There's this really wonderful pool over here. Do you just want to jump from your conveyor belt into the pool? Because that's fun, right? Again, like everyone has to choose their own path. But yeah, once you're aware, definitely find your path to get off. I don't think when you realize you are on some kind of conveyor belt, when it feels like a conveyor belt, it's probably not comfortable, right? And so the question is, do you want to be a little uncomfortable for a minute and jump, and then maybe for the chance of becoming more comfortable on the other side? But again, it's a hard decision, and it's not like a moment thing often. It's not like, for me, it wasn't like that. It wasn't the one moment where I was like, oh, I can believe something else, so now I'm going to choose myself. It was not a moment thing. It took me weeks and months in programs and stuff to shift that. Yeah. So maybe for some people, some things are moments, but often I think changing our beliefs is not necessarily like this 1 second to the other thing.
You just said something very profound, as you usually do, Stephanie. This idea that it's like a moment, Like I think so many people believe that they're just going to arrive at this moment where like, oop, flip the switch and then everything changes, and it's all, it's like it goes from night to day, or whatever. That's not how any of this works. It's and it's not one moment, it's moments of choices, of awakenings, of curiosity, of questioning. And I think one of the most powerful things that you can do as an individual is question. Get curious, ask yourself, what if, all of these types of things, like, what would your life look like if you did this versus that, or, whatever. And I think it's I'm going to kind of maybe bring this full circle and land it somehow back to education, which is great for Amanda. She's very excited. I can already see the joy in her eyes.
That's exactly where my brain's going right now.
But
so keep going.
I think where we all fail, or where it all goes wrong, comes back to the way our education system is set up, to where we aren't allowed to question or get curious. And and maybe I'm not just gonna harp only on like education. Maybe I'm gonna say, just as a society as a whole, kids are naturally curious. Kids are naturally questioners. I love this about kids. I think it's fascinating to watch kids question life. But what happens when kids start to question life? The adults come in and tell them to stop questioning. Do as you're told, you know? And I think it's so sad that as kids we learn, oh, don't ask the questions because you're going to get scolded, you're going to get yelled at, you're going to be reprimanded. And for me, I got my freedom back when I started to ask questions again, when I started to get curious, when I started to go, hey, I don't really like how this is going. What if I did something different? What if I made a different choice here? Or what would it look like if instead of, just going straight off to college, like a 4-year university, I went to community college for a little while. Like these were some of the, like I share that I felt like I got thrusted off life's conveyor belt at 17 because I had this whole moment where I was supposed to go off to a 4-year university and finances fell through and I couldn't afford to go to the college that I thought I was going to go to. And so then all of a sudden at 17, I had to make a choice. Like, was I going to take out all of the debt and go into a bunch of debt to make this college dream a reality? Or was I going to make a different choice and, take a different path? And like that to me was me getting thrusted off of life's conveyor belt because I for the first time had to make an intentional choice and I had to think about where my life was going and what that was going to be like. But that's when I got my power back. The moment I stopped long enough to question and get curious. And it feels rebellious in the beginning. Like I remember going through community college feeling like a total badass, rebellious, like kid, because everyone when I got to community college told me, Tyler, go to community college, do all of your basics, get the math, English, science out of the way, like, save yourself some money, like all of these kind of things. No, I went into community college and I did the complete opposite. I took all of the classes that interest me: psychology, sociology, speech, business, film, like just I took all the fun classes in community college because I knew I was going to allow community college to be my playground to find the things that I was interested in and the things that brought me joy and fulfillment. And so, yeah, I felt rebellious going to community college because I didn't do the normal thing. I didn't do the orthodox thing of like getting my basics out of the way. No, I made intentional choices to explore and find myself. But as kids, we're taught not to question. We're taught not to get curious. We're taught to just do as we're told. So it totally makes sense to me that now as adults, we are going through life completely unaware, completely unawoken. I don't know if that's the right word, but like we're like completely asleep in life because we've just been so conditioned to do as we're told, to do as we're told, to do as we're told, and we're not taught to think independently. Because what happens if we do think independently? That's a big question. Because if we do think independently, then we wouldn't have a society, because society is made up of like a common thought and a common belief. And if every single one of us had different thoughts, society wouldn't exist. And that would completely break down all of the control. I'm going to stop myself there because like that's really going to a rabbit hole. But, I'm just telling you, take back your power, get curious, ask the questions, and start small. Start with one question at a time and just enjoy being curious.
And I think what's really big about this, because even as we're like having this conversation, I'm thinking there's also the humanness. I call this humanness, but it's the our tendency to be hard on ourselves, a tendency to judge, or, those types of things. And I think that walking away, like, I'm incredibly inspired by this conversation. And I think this is so motivating and exciting to have this type of dialogue. But I can also see on the flip side how this could potentially feel like, especially when we start this process of getting into this, right? That there is some judgment, there is some shame, there is some, oh, well, I should have, or why didn't I? And, like that judgment that we have on ourselves. And so what the kind of final thought here that I would want to add is stay in curiosity, stay in that curious space, because in curiosity, judgment doesn't exist. And when we stay curious and we just ask the questions, and even, tapping into that little, 2-year-old, the 6-year-old, whatever, like, they only have questions. Like, look, why? Oh my gosh. That's like, but they're just getting curious about the world, right? And so staying in that place of curiosity, so that, like, the judgment doesn't cloud or make it more difficult for us to really dig deep into, what are the belief systems that I'm carrying around, and are there some that maybe I want to keep. I'm almost seeing this as like a suitcase, right? It's like we have a suitcase of beliefs that we carry around, and, like, some of them are really cute and we want to keep and we love them because, it always feels good to wear that top or whatever, and not in like I don't want to make this like an appearance type of conversation, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. I just mean, it feels good to wear that belief. Maybe let's stick with it being a belief. Versus, like, putting on some of these beliefs and feeling kind of icky, and, it just doesn't feel like it's in alignment, and just being mindful and unpacking the suitcase. And I mean, we don't just, like, thinking of like going on vacation and, like, I don't know, you don't just like dump the suitcase out and then leave it on the floor, right? Like, we unpack and then we, start putting things away, or maybe we wash them first, right? So there's steps that are involved in going through the unpacking of our belief systems. And I think having curiosity, having patience, having self-compassion, like, these are all incredibly important in having this, I don't want to say the journey, it's the first thing that's coming to mind, but I don't really like it, but it's like, having the journey be successful. I'm not sure, like, how to word that in a better way right now, because that's just what's coming to mind. But, like, enjoying the process maybe is what I mean more, that, like, we aren't beating ourselves up. We're not making ourselves feel judged or just feeling bad, like that's not the point. That's not what we're trying to get at here, because we're staying curious and we don't need to have judgment when we're curious.
Yeah, definitely. Like, connecting with that part of ourselves that is curious about the future, and, like, hey, I want to make a shift. I want to feel better. I want to have a job that excites me, or, like, friends that light me up and inspire me, or whatever goals we may want to set for ourselves. And I think that's important, that we connect with that part. And then I feel like the judgment naturally, like, kind of goes into the background a little bit, and is maybe not as loud. And even if it comes up, just like, okay, you're here, cool, you're a friend that's just trying to share something with me here, but I'm gonna chill out with curiosity a bit longer.
Right. And I think, like, continuing to get curious, right? Like, when the judgment comes in, it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. I wonder, like, what that's about, or, like, making it make sense. It's like, like, going back to one of the examples where we were sharing that, well, I'm, on this conveyor belt, or I'm working this corporate job because that's what my parents did, and that's what their parents did, and that's what their parents' parents did. Like, it only makes sense that I would be doing this, right? Like, because it all makes sense. It actually, even if it doesn't initially, it does. There's a reason why it is that way, and that you're on the journey that you're on, and connecting that to that like spiritual aspect. I think bringing all of the little pieces that we covered today together, like there is a reason there, even if you may not understand it now. Because speaking to my teen self, I'm like, I don't think I would have had a reason for why I went through everything I went through. But in hindsight, I can see, oh, that makes sense. Yep, that makes total sense.
Absolutely. I think as we're wrapping up here, I just want to say I'm so grateful for this conversation. It was so lit up, so on fire. And I feel really, like you said already, Amanda, I feel very inspired right now. It's just a very light, happy, fluffy heart. Yeah, that's how the week's supposed to start. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
No last thoughts. Just another moment of gratitude for the two of you for, again, letting us have this space and come in and be the crazy idealists and questioners and challengers and all of these kind of things. So we so appreciate every single one of you who listens, and we love you all, and we will see you next week for another wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next
Thank
week.
you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Kaya the Podcast, and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Kaya the Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next time for another deep conversation.